Good morning, Rechavia Nachlaot, on this Thursday morning, 9:30, or maybe 9:31. But maybe you can guess where I am. Well, I'm for sure in Rechavia. You can see the beautiful scenery in the back. I'm not going to give away the address, but maybe the street you can figure out. The beautiful background, the beautiful Yerushalayim. What a great bracha it is to be here in Yerushalayim. I would like to start today's class with explaining the concept of hitkalalut hamidot, the inclusiveness of the midot. We talked a couple of times, especially around the time of Sfirat HaOmer, that it's not just each individual midah, each individual attribute, like chesed, gevura, tiferet, kindness, severity, and beauty, and so on and so forth. Rather, each one is also included of all the other ones. So it's important to point out how this exactly works, even though we don't understand it, but at least the knowledge. We are now in the world of asiyah. Asiyah is the world of action, of deeds. There is a spiritual asiyah, and there is a materialistic asiyah. All of these worlds, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, all the spiritual worlds are part of now what's called Tikkun, from the famous slogan, Tikkun Olam, to fix the world. We're all part of the Tikkun Olam. Each of us are a piece of, are a piece of the entire puzzle. And when HaShem created the world in a quote-unquote imperfect way, in order that we as human beings should actually be, or at least convince ourselves, that we are quote-unquote partners with HaShem in creating the world and in making the world what HaShem envisions it to be. If so, the best way to do that is through hitkalalut hamidot, inclusiveness of all of the midot and the levels of emotion and the attributes and the sfirot. In Kabbalah, it is written that before Hashem created the world of Tikkun, in other words, the entire world that all of the sfirot are interconnected, there was a world called Tohu. Tohu means emptiness, havoc. There are other words for it. If you have another word for it, please type over here in the chat or in the comments on Facebook. Chaos. Just now, what does that mean? There was a world, and it was at least a spiritual world, and each sephirah, each level was individual, totally independent and not connected to another sphere. So each one was a great luminary, but the world cannot be mitukan, cannot be perfect, cannot be fixed if each individual is to itself. When we come to Tikkun, what happened to that world of Tohu? It crashed. It was a very great level, but it crashed. And when it crashed, just like when, God forbid, something smashes, then all little sparks or tiny pieces can fly in all directions. So too, little parts of spirituality fell down into this world of Tikkun. And that's, in the bigger picture, that's our responsibility to be able to fix the world, to elevate these sparks that have fallen down into Tikkun. Now, when you talk about Tikkun, and you talk about, for example, chesed, and chesed of chesed, and gevura of chesed, tiferet of chesed, so to speak, intertwined, so you might argue that the chesed is diluted. It's not pure chesed. because sometimes you have Tiferet of Chesed, and you share the wealth, and it's not so intense the way the midah, the attribute, the specific attribute is on its own. In contrast to the way Tohu is. Tohu, the world of the world of chaos. Over there, in that world, in that situation, each midah is nice and strong and intense and powerful. So chesed is chesed, without any gvura. You just do it the way it is, all the way. Gevura is only Gevura. You're not going to have tiferet of Gevura. So Gevura is strong, is intense. So you might argue that Tohu is better. Because Tohu, in the world of Tohu, you have the same Sfirot, but you have it the way it is. It's not blended. It's not diluted. It is what it is. You get what you pay for. We're not blending, and some will argue that that's called mellowing and just becoming and not giving it the way it is. But what does it help if you're so intense and you crash? What have you gained? What have you accomplished? Almost zero. Because there's no point in having laser beams that can bring all kinds of inspiration and light to the world if you can't use it. What's the point of having it if you can't use it? Therefore, there's tikkun. HaShem created the world of tikkun. Obviously, in tikkun you have many worlds and many levels. But what's the punchline? The punchline is that everyone gets along. So you might have some balancing, you might have some diluting even, mellowing that it shouldn't be as strong as it was originally. But everyone's living in harmony. That's called tikkun. And for all practical purposes, that's called tikkun olam, fixing the world. That's truly the best way to fix the world. This concept is so true in any part of life. Whether we're talking about shalom bayit, peace in the home, or we're talking about teacher-student in school, or we're talking about employer-employee, or neighbors. There's so many issues where this subject can come up. A person can argue, I don't need to get along with anyone. I'm perfectly fine the way I am. In fact, if I will be if I will be single, I'll just be. I won't. God forbid, I won't build a family, or I won't get involved, be part of a big business, successful, flourishing business. I just want to be alone. It's okay. There's some people are like that. But in the bigger picture of Tikkun Olam, Hashem created us in the world to get along with others. And sometimes there might be a cost. There might be a price tag. But the total, the finished item is something which nothing can compare to. You'll be preparing a world for Hashem. You want to know something? Everything has a price tag. Everything has a price tag. So someone might think that to be in some kind of situation where you have to get along with other people, have to live in the same home under the same roof with someone else, or you have to work for someone else in order to make that's all a price tag. Well, I have news for you. If someone is to be alone, there's also a price tag for that. Whether in any situation in life, sometimes people need to be alone. It's fine, but everyone needs to make a decision in any specific scenario, and there is a price tag also for being alone, namely tohu. Tohu is a world of chaos. So a person might think, I'm alone. No, There's no noise, no action. Just I like being alone. But the fact itself that a person can crash because it's almost impossible to be truly alone. What kind of peace is that? That's called a price tag, and that's a serious price tag to have to pay. So nobody knows the price tag that HaShem has planned for each person. But what we can do is we can aspire to make decisions in our lives that can be associated with tikkun olam. And this is the point that the Alter Rebbe is going to explain about hitkalalut hamidot, the inclusion of the midot. That's so important. Even if you think that each midah, each attribute alone will be more powerful, but if it's going to crash, then what have we accomplished? One big fat zero. And so therefore, it's our obligation to always try to see how can we get along with others. How can we find the middle path? Sometimes the price tag is going to be, sometimes the price tag is going to be that we have to, what's the word I'm looking for? That we have to give a little bit of ourselves or a lot of ourselves. But at the end of the day, we're going to be building a beautiful edifice for HaShem. And that's all that counts. We're here for Him. We're here for His mission. And that's what counts. Let's continue. I don't have the original text of the Tanya with me. I have the text, the practical Tanya from Rabbi Chaim Miller. I really hope we can have him speak for us soon, for bringing or talk. But let's get back to the text. V'hinei, behold, and behold. It's about 4 or 5 lines from the top. We just turned the page. We started the 6th chapter, and we turned the page, so you can figure it out. V'hinei, and behold, mehit kalut hamidot zubezu, from the fact that the midot are included one in another, it's clear to the eye. The ihu v'garmohi chad. This is a statement that we've talked about a couple of times over the past week. He, capital H, HaShem, v'garmohi, and his garments, chad, are one. Shehen midotav. Those are his midot. The quote-unquote garments are the midot. For since they are completely unified with him, therefore they are unified one with another and included one within another. K'ma'amar Eliyahu, as Eliyahu Navi has said, and this is part of the Patach Eliyahu that we learned several months ago. Excuse me? You weren't supposed to see that, but you did. As we read in the Patach Eliyahu is one of the paragraphs that we read Friday evening before Mincha, which is before Kabbalat Shabbat. The introduction for Tikkunei Zohar. Eliyahu has a whole description on the different sfirot and explanation on everything. But Antu, and this is an Aramaic, so we'll translate. But Antu, and you are he, the kashirlon, that you tie them, umiyachidlon, and you unify them, v'chulu, etc. Ubarminach, and besides for you, leit yichuda be'ilai, there is no true unification above. So this idea that the midot, the holy attributes of HaShem, are totally unified one with another and unified with HaShem, that is the underlying point over here. When we talk about Kedusha, the levels of holiness, it's automatically connected to Hitkalalut. which we started talking about this morning. Itkalut means inclusiveness. If you're connected to holiness, then you're connected to oneness and achdut, unity. If one is connected to the opposite of kedusha, the opposite of holiness, then you're connected. Then you're individual entities, and that's tohu. That's chaos. That's the opposite of unity. So the moment that we realize that we're here for a mission and to fulfill Hashem's mission here in the world, then the more we're in touch with our holiness, the more we're in touch with our neshama, we want to bring more achdut, more unity. The best example for this is what we've been explaining all along. The chesed and the gevura and the tiferet, all of the midot of atzilut, of the highest world, all of the above are Ein Sof. Why are they Ein Sof? Because they're pure. The moment that they're connected to Kedusha, then they are, and they live in harmony, then that is called Tikkun. That is called the world of Tikkun and the world of Tikkun Olam. If so, if we understand everything that we've been explaining up until now, that if we understand that Ihu v'chayo hichad, He, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the light, Chad is one. Also Ihu v'garmo hichad, He and the garments are one. So it's all one happy family. The only reason why we think that the light and the keli, the vessel, are two separate entities, that's because the only reason why we think they're two separate entities is because we're human beings. So when we look from our perspective, we think that they're two separate entities. But when it's all one happy family and everyone gets along, then it's all one unit. Literally all one concept. It's all godliness. It's all Ein Sof. This one comes in the image of light, and this entity, which is the keli, the vessel, comes in the image of a keli. But if you're looking from Hashem's perspective, which everything comes from Hashem, then it's all one. There's no, even the concealment is part of the revelation. It's all one happy family. Now we're going to start getting back to the question, the original question that we asked, the Alter Rebbe asked right at the beginning of the first chapter of Sha'ar, ha-Yichud ve'emunah, which we learned about. We started it approximately 1 month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, as we were leading up to right around Shavuot. So the Alter Rebbe asked the question. It says, V'yadata hayom, in the verse, Parshat Va'etchanan, which we're going to read in about a month. V'yadata hayom, you should know today, V'hashevota el elevecha, you should take to heart, Ki Hashem hu Elokim, for Hashem is the God, Hashemayim mimal, in the heavens above, V'al ha'aretz mitachat, and in the earth below, Ein od, there's no other God. So Alter Rebbe asked an obvious question. V'hashevota el elevecha, you need to take it to heart. You need to really contemplate. Everybody understands that there's only one God, and there are no other gods in the heavens above and beneath the earth, or within the bed, the seabed. So why do we have to have a special a special paying attention, a special taking to heart? Why would anyone think otherwise? It's obvious, isn't it? Hashem is one. There's no other God. Sounds wonderful. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to address this question. After we've been explaining all of the explanations that HaKadosh Baruch Hu finds himself within every object, and without Hashem being there, the object would simply not exist. And we talked about the fact that all of the sfirot above are all one, both the Or and the Keli. Everything is all one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the world. The world is Hashem. It's all one happy family. There's nothing besides for Hashem. Now we can understand the verse a little better. Zeu shekatuv, and this is what it says in the verse that I just quoted for you and translated. V'hashevota el levavecha, and you should take to your heart. Ki HaShem hu Elokim, that HaShem is your God. Pirush, what does that mean? Now that we've been explaining what we said earlier, Sheshnei Shemot Elu, for these two names, Heim Echad Mamash, are literally one. Shegam Shem Elokim, that for also the name of Elokim, Hametzamtzen, which contracts, Uma'alim, and hides, covers over, Ha'or, the light, on the light. Hu b'chinat Chesed, it's also Chesed. K'mo Shem Havaya, just like Shem Havaya. Yud Kei Vav Kei. Mishum Shemidotav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the attributes of the Almighty God, Mityachdot Imo B'yichud Gamor, are totally unified in unison with Hashem. V'hu ushmo echad, and He, capital H, He, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and His name are all one. Shemidotav hein shmotav, for the midot, His Hashem's attributes are His names. It's the same thing. So, if the Torah did not say v'hashevota el levavecha, and you need to take to heart, a person might think maybe there's Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you have Elokim, two separate entities. They're both Hashem, both Hashem's names, but one is light, and one is the opposite characteristic of enlightening, which is restraint. Now that we say that Hashem hu Elokim, Havaya hu Elokim, Hashem's name at Yud Kei Vav Kei is the same exact as Elokim. Now we understand what the Torah means. V'hashevota el levavecha, take to heart. Why do you take it to heart? Take to heart that Havaya and Elokim are one. This is something which we really have to contemplate into. And just learning it for several days is amazing, but it's not nearly enough. The more Chassidut we learn, the more we will be able to internalize. And maybe it's a good idea that after we finish the Sha'ar ha-Yichud ve'Emunah and the Tanya, we should learn an amazing mimer from the Rebbe Rashab, Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber, which explains this concept that Havaya and Elokim are all one. It's called V'yadata, has the same beginning for the mimer, for the introduction of this verse, and you should know today. And we need to learn more and more, really to delve ourselves into this concept. And because we're human beings, it's really hard for us to understand and internalize these concepts. But we still have the obligation, because the Torah says, "V'hashevota el levavecha," take to heart. Put yourself to it. Try hard to delve into the infinite sea of Chassidut and Torah. And hopefully then we'll have more and more of an understanding of what it means, Havaya hu Elokim, that Hashem is our God. In other words, the name Havaya is the same as the name Elokim. They're not two separate entities at all. We're going to continue Bezrat Hashem next week, the middle of chapter Vav, Perek Vav, and hopefully Perek Zayin as well. But tomorrow we're going to have Kabbalah Cafe, and I invite everybody to join us for this special edition of Kabbalah Cafe 9:30. And of course tonight, 7:30, Big Farbrengen with Rabbi Ephraim Mintz. And I'm very excited about this special Farbrengen in honor of Yud Beit Tammuz, which will be tomorrow evening on Shabbat. But the Farbrengen obviously cannot be on Shabbat because it's online. So therefore, we did an early Farbrengen, a preparation Farbrengen, to get into the mode of appreciating the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, and all of his selfless dedication to world Jewry in the former Soviet Union, literally Mesirat Nefesh, self-sacrifice. And hopefully you'll spread the word. We sent out the email last night and also the message on WhatsApp, so you could send it to all of your friends. It has all the information. It has our permanent Chabad Rechavia Zoom room. with the code of 770-800-1717, and of course on Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course, Shabbat morning, we're back to the regular time, 9 o'clock Chassidut and 9:30 davening. Be well, have a great day in preparation for Shabbat. Be well.